Welcome everyone to the Overcome podcast. Today I have a very, very special guest, a friend of mine from a long time ago, Delane Hart. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Uh,
I'm excited.
yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. So, Delane, the subject, the main theme of this podcast is about overcome, and we've been friends for a long time, and I've seen your amazing transformation from runner to a bodybuilder, and going through a lot of struggles, overcoming a lot of things. So, and recently, probably a couple of years ago, maybe you changed the directions of your training and your approach to the sport,
Yeah.
more focus on longevity and everything. So, what triggered you to really change this direction, and how you feeling nowadays with this change?
Um, well, let's see. I won my pro card in women's physique in 2015, and everything, my entire life was focused on making it to the Olympia stage, like many of us, And I sacrificed a lot to do that. And, competing is not exactly a healthy sport.
Hmm.
Um, and so, if you want the short version, I slowly got better and better. Went from, I think, my pro debut, I was like 11th place. It was pretty abysmal. And then I worked really hard, got 5th place at a big pro show. And then, I mean, when I say everything was focused, every day was focused on winning the next show. And I won that show
Yeah,
2 years later.
I remember. I
So
remember that. It was amazing.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was awesome. But I love to struggle. Some of us thrive on that.
Yep.
Viktor Frankl talks about that. But it came down to where I sacrificed just living just a normal, healthy life just to attain that goal. And as soon as you reach it, you're already planning on the next. You don't even take time to enjoy it
Yeah.
because and started my prep for the Olympia, and I felt horrible. Like I did not feel good.
How
And
how many is a week out? We do how many
I
weeks?
was 13 weeks,
Okay.
and I mean, I was of course shredded after I won my show. I took a few days off, got right back to it, and worked very closely. I love my coach. I still work with him, but just kept telling him, man, like my fire's gone. Like I had nothing left. Well, about 8 weeks out, I had this little lump right here.
Hmm.
And I thought, it was like sinuses, and you'll get like, and so I did what any normal person would do, and I just kept believing it was just going to disappear. And so about a week later, it was bigger.
Oh wow.
2 weeks later, it was the size of like a small little tomato. It
Jeez. Wow.
it was so I go to the ER, and it was interesting because I was at that time friends with an IFBB judge, and she she went with me to the ER because she was like, I mean, we're going to the Olympia, and let's get this taken care of.
Hmm.
They said this is a tumor, and you need to come see a specialist in a few days. We got to figure out what's you're going to need to probably get this out. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I mean, for years, all I've been thinking about Olympia. I qualified. No, like, well, I went and saw the doctor a few days later, and he was like, "This is just going to keep growing."
Wow.
And so I was like, "Well, let me think about it," And here I have this friend at the time telling me, "You know what? I bet it's not going to grow much more. You can get up on that stage. You can do this."
Oh wow. Really? They said that?
A week later, it is the size of a baseball, and it is just this growth. And I call the doctor, and I'm like, can I come in and talk to you again to see if any options? He's like, it's grown already.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to the point where I couldn't. It was catching, like, I couldn't swallow food, and I'm like, my nutrition was on point. I
So,
was
so
having,
between the time that you identified this and this last call to the doctor, we are talking about what, 5 days?
yeah, and it is just growing.
And were you training those 5 days?
Yeah, and horrible. I have pictures. I was sending daily check-ins to my coach, and he's like, Laney, and just me in my front pose, and he's like, I think it has grown. I'm like, Nelson, it has grown. So I it got to where, like, I couldn't swallow good, and that's when I knew. I was like, we still had 8 weeks, and then I asked the doctor. I said, well, do you think I can recover? He was like, you can't lift, you can't do anything for 4 weeks after the surgery, because it was on top of my thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
So, long story short, went in for surgery, came out, and I had to reassess what I was doing everything for.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really, it was a dark time. A lot of the so-called, people who were cheering you on, they were gone. I mean,
Isn't
and
isn't that interesting that when you are on top, you have so many people supporting you, and then as soon as you fail, it's really hard to
oh,
find someone to pick you up.
oh, Yuri, you know, it was, now looking back, it was such a blessing, because it really made me just go, what am I doing? What is most important? And who really matters, and what matters? In the end, what freaking matters?
Hmm. And you could
And
also identify who your truly friends were.
yes, when I say, like, the phone quit buzzing, there was no text, it was crazy. And I'm a real, I like to mentor younger female competitors, and um, I'm very outspoken about PEDs and stuff like that. And I just figured, because I'm not somebody who reaches out for help.
Hmm.
I'm not, actually, that's not a good thing. And I just figured, if I ever needed anybody, people would be there,
Hmm.
and they weren't. And in the end, though, it was a blessing. I actually don't hold that against anybody, because it's like, they showed me, and it's okay. But
Well, but
yeah,
probably you probably had someone that you were expecting to be more supportive, and it was not.
yeah, yeah,
And that's and,
quite a
and
few.
that's tough because you are already on this transition. Should I continue? Should I not continue? It's a difficult decision because you invest so much time on this, and now you have to basically be on your own to decide without anyone to supporting you. It's tough.
And I had my family,
Yeah.
and a couple, like, lifelong friends that were there way before bodybuilding.
Hmm.
And because it was hard, even my friends that still were stuck around, who were in the industry, to them, they didn't know what to say, and that's what they told me later, when I was like, why didn't you, like, they were like, I just didn't know what to say. I mean, had been your dream, and it was gone. And yeah, it taught me, though, a lot on how to respond to people when they hit lows. I don't know, it just gave me this new empathy. But in the end, it was a blessing. And I talked with my kids, and they were like, Mom, we're just ready for you to enjoy life again. Like, remember when you used to like to cook all the time, and you could take vacations with us, and my kids are all grown. So, yeah,
That's probably the
it,
moment that you were like, "Wow, that's true."
I, it, I literally, it was like I was coming out of this, it's a hyper focus when you compete.
Yeah.
And at that top level, I don't care who you have to hyper focus, unless you're just one of the few genetic phenoms.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then, I mean, my son sat down, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was like, Mom, I'm worried. What's it going to take? Like, what's going to be next? I mean, you just had this big old, I mean, and the doctor took pictures. It was the size at the end of a softball. And he's like,
And you were lucky because it was benign, right?
it was benign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've had no issues since then. But, they linked it to the stress of competing, growth hormone,
Hmm.
stuff like that, but it was there from birth. It was a thyroglossal cyst, and it just decided to.
To grow.
So I, as a act of of the universe of God, saying, you know what, it's time to
Your,
change.
change directions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting because the other day, I think early on in the show, I interviewed Cassidy. She got her
uh
IFBB card as well, but she told me, Yuri, when I got my IFBB card, that's all I wanted. I didn't want to go beyond that because I knew it would take a lot out of me to move on and be on the circuit among all the IFBB pros. So I was happy just by getting the IFBB pro card and doing my personal training after that. So
yeah,
she stopped immediately. She
yeah.
didn't do any debut. But when you go to the debut, then you go to that cycle of like, now I gotta win, and then is non-stop.
I never competed. I have pro friends that they compete. They they don't care how they place. They don't put a lot. If they have a bad day, it's okay. I do this for fun. Erie, I've never in my life stepped on stage for fun. It was not that I loved the process of prep,
Hmm.
of pushing myself. But that's why I was a triathlete for years and I loved the training. Race day wasn't the day I loved. The show day wasn't the day I loved. It was the process of seeing what I was capable of. So it taught me so much. And I mean, I apply it now. And when, with the clients that I train online and in person, I'm passionate about teaching that. We only tap into such a small percentage of what we're capable of. And so nowadays, I'm just living my life that way.
But I bet you that all the experience also taught you to how to approach your clients to not go into that same direction.
Yes, yes. Um, it's funny. One of my clients, they call me Mama Bear, and one was calling me today, and I'm very upfront with them about how this is a hobby. Unless you are making money, and can we just say, I won a pro show and I got $2,500. That didn't cover prep.
Yeah, that covers nothing.
Not
Yeah.
much. So, you know, that was a reality check too. But I'm like, this is a hobby. And yes, it's a lifestyle, but you have to find a certain balance or you're going to get lost in it and you're going to burn yourself out and you're not going to be able to do this for years.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really big on teaching that, listening to your body, not just being hardcore 24/7,
And you
knowing,
touch on something very important, which is balance. A lot of people, as you said, you were hyper focused, and some people that are not professional, they are hyper focused and they do not take care of their kids. They isolate from their family. I've seen some marriage going,
oh,
completely wrong just because the girl or the guy was so focused that they forgot family.
it's because it is a narcissistic sport. It is a very self absorbed, and if you already have that tendency, it can just turn you into a monster. And I say you can justify freaking just about anything.
Hmm.
But in this sport, you can justify being an absolute jerk or, you know, you know,
Yeah.
and I get on to my clients that start getting like that. I'm like, is it worth you losing this relationship? Is this relationship? I mean, hello. And I've stopped even a few clients in prep and been like, okay, we need to pull back a little
Yeah.
bit because I could not maintain a relationship while I was
Competing.
competing. No, because and if you actually notice, a lot of the top women they don't in women's physique or women's bodybuilding, they don't. Now, if they're not,
Unless they are with like another pro, right? And that's
yeah,
usually when it works because they are
yeah,
focused on their own stuff.
exactly, exactly. But if they are with a man, It doesn't last because it's just, I mean, there's no room for anything else. For me, there was only room. Luckily, my kids were older, and there was only room for them and work. Anything else could not go very deep. So,
And how long were you on this on this process? It was like until you got the pro card. It was like how many years training?
so training, I transitioned over from triathlon, and I trained. I didn't compete for 2 years. All I did was train and build, and then I competed, and
I remember your first show. You won.
yeah,
I remember. I think it was Europa.
in
Yeah,
Europa, Dallas,
yeah.
and I went straight to North Americans. But I said to the person who was coaching me at the time, I was like, "Do you think I can win? Because I'm not doing this because I was working 3 jobs. I did not take a day off for almost 7 months. I was raising 3 teenagers, and one of them had some deep psychological issues going on, so we were in and out of hospitals. And I said to that coach, I said, "Do you think I can win?" And he's like, "I honestly do." Because if he didn't think I could win, I wasn't doing it. And I was going to take off, another year. But I did. I went and I won open, which was cool because was I 40? And the girl that got runner up was 22.
Wow, felt good.
But yeah,
Well, this is something interesting because it almost feels like as you continue to grow and you start to see the results, is like you're getting into this tunnel vision, and now everything starts to go only in one single direction, and that's when things start to get really dangerous, I think.
yeah, I completely agree. But, bodybuilding will tell you that that's exactly how you should be, where you just that tunnel vision, and you're just gaining momentum and you're getting better. And I could say it's like getting in a bomb shelter, and there's all kinds of shit above you,
Yeah, yeah.
raining, but you're in a bomb shelter, and you're safe. It's you, your training, your nutrition. It's all the few little things you can control, and that's all you focus on. And
Now,
a lot of people
no,
do
yeah, a
that.
lot of people do that, and but you start this event happened what 2 years ago or was 1 year ago?
No, it was one. So I won in 2019. May 2019 was when I won the show, and then it was July.
The surgery was July,
Surgery was in August,
August.
so July, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
So you are now a
I've
little over 1 year and a half,
yeah,
just living the lifestyle and
yeah.
coaching everything, and you look great.
Thank you.
You
I
didn't look
feel great.
you look healthier.
Mm, yeah.
And I would even say if you want to go back to compete in wellness, you probably will do really good in wellness.
Yeah, I've
Have you thought about that?
I thought about it. I just, man, I'm loving. This is gonna sound whatever, and I'm loving being smaller and softer, but strong.
That's the
Um,
thing about wellness. You don't need to be so hard. As
yeah, but they still, I'm natural, and I've enjoyed the calm in my life,
hmm
and I have nothing against PEDs, but I had to use them for so long, and I have to like. It's funny. I get stressed out, and Yuri, I lose 8 pounds in a little over a week.
Really,
Like,
and that's a gift.
yeah, it is, but then it's not. So, yeah, that happened to me just the other week. I was super busy, stressed out, relationship stuff, all this stuff,
But
and
do you skip meal or you just lose
yeah,
like naturally?
I'm not hungry, and I throw myself into work, and that's where the PEDs would help me, where I wouldn't like lose muscle, I wouldn't lose, and I didn't use much. That was another thing that I was, I wanted to keep my femininity,
hmm
and um, the wellness girls, they're going hard. I've talked with some coaches. And they go pretty hard. And it's I think it's mainly with it like the anti-estrogens and stuff
Hmm.
too. I just you know it's good.
Your mood probably is better.
Oh, I, we used to joke because my coach and I because I'm a high responder and I would only have to take very small doses, but it was like overnight. I just volumize, and my temper would too.
Your kids are pretty happy now with that, right?
Yeah, my kids, and I'm a grandmother. I have two grandsons, 2 years old and 8 months, and I'm just like, life is good, man.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all about longevity. I still train hard and heavy. I'm just not when I feel that little niggle, maybe I'm squatting heavy or something's off. I'll pull back. Back in the day, I would barrel through because it's like the girl I'm gonna be standing next to on stage, she's not gonna pull
Right,
back.
right. So
So
you still training heavy? Or you didn't change your training routine to be more like cardio oriented, or
no, because so now I don't train upper body at
at
all.
all? Really?
No, mm-mm. I all I do. Well, I shouldn't say. So all I
How you
do.
keep those shoulders, Delane? Come on.
And they, they've come down too. I don't touch shoulders. It's funny. I won't name names, but I tried. I like to talk to other coaches, and I hired back in June during COVID. I hired a different coach just to kind of see. I hadn't been with my coach in months because I just was kind of finding my way, figuring out stuff. So I hired this other coach, and I straight up told him. I said, I am genetically gifted. I do not ever train my arms. I haven't trained my arms in 4 years. I don't want to train shoulders or chest because it gets huge, and I don't want any more like width on my back. And he sends me a plan, and he has me like hitting triceps twice a week. He has me doing biceps. I was hitting shoulders also twice a week, and I literally was like, "Sir, did you write this for me?" I just follow the plan. Yuri, I started it, and 2 weeks in, I'm just like, and I'm like, this isn't. So now I'm back with my old coach who knows me very well, and I have 3 leg days and a deadlift day where I deadlift and I do a lot of
So
pull-ups.
no shoulders at all. That's unbelievable. Yeah, because that's the part of you that you didn't lose. I think. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it was, we trained them so hard because women's physique is a cartoonish X frame.
hmm.
That's what and it's beautiful. But we knew that I didn't have, my waist isn't wide, but it's not, like Shanique Grant or something, some, wasp waist. So we knew, okay, my shoulders are good. Let's make them ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we could, and
Create that V tridimensional aspect. Yeah.
so yeah,
What about back?
um,
You also don't hit back at all? Just that lift?
just deadlifts and pull ups and pullovers, but mainly deadlifts because I love to deadlift.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. In cardio, did you change anything on cardio?
Um, right now I do. Right now we backed it up. I do 30 minutes steady state 4 times a week.
Well, one of the advantages of your whole process, and thanks God the surgery went well and was benign, is that you don't have, at least I don't know, you may say that I'm wrong, but you don't have any problem, joint problem, elbow or shoulder. You are
I,
completely fully functional, right?
yeah, I have some hip. My labrum, my hip. Nothing severe though. No, no. And again, I'm big on body work. I have a great PT, and I send my clients to him, and he's amazing. And I just stay on top of things now. Like
Well,
before,
now, but before you were going really hard. That's what I'm
I
saying. You don't have any problem for those years training extremely heavy.
I did. I'd had a coach early on who he didn't teach me proper form at all, and luckily I got Jose Raymond was great. He would ask me when he was coaching me. He would ask me for videos and stuff, and he was like, "Whoa, you need to stop doing it that way. Do this way." I just didn't know better back then, you know. And now, like, I've really thrown myself into education with form and just body mechanics. Yeah, no, I had some pretty bad elbow issues, tendonitis, stuff like that, you know, but nothing severe like I've had some friends, you know, have to do. But yeah, yeah.
What about your diet now? A lot of change from the time that you compete. You are eating more carbs. You're not so concerned about carbs at all.
He just upped me big time, which is good because I'm wanting to get put on more size, just in my lower body, but and I do. I stay pretty lean. I follow a pretty strict diet, but it's a lot of food. If anything, you know.
How many calories a day?
You know, we never do macros. I don't do macros with my
Oh,
clients either.
wow. Interesting.
Definitely, I would say around 2,300
Okay.
at least. He just upped it, so probably around 25.
That's very interesting approach. I don't know how to live without doing macros because I gain weight too fast. So I need to be monitoring so close. Yeah.
Of course, is measured. Everything I do is measured perfectly. But I find when I'm coaching people, if I give them their macros, now I have some clients I do give macros to, but they're very, very self-disciplined. And I know you're very self-disciplined. Yeah. So, but not everybody else is. And so if I give them the macros, they're like, oh, well, 35 grams of carbs. Well, look at this. And who knows what, you know, it could be a freaking candy bar. I've had people justify some ridiculousness. So over the years, I've quit giving out macros to new clients. And then as I learn how self-disciplined they are, then.
So you actually give what they need to eat precisely?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I give them, I mean, and they have some options, but it is very precise. And it's like, if you don't follow this and if you know, then that's on you, you know, and you don't see progress. But, and I see much more success that way than if I say, oh, here's your macros, here's a nutrition plan, but here's also your macros. You can do either or. Yeah.
When you were competing, were you using the same approach of not using macros?
Yes. Yes. And I mean, I have worked with some of the top coaches and I've never been given macros ever. So the only Jose, you know, because he was coached by Chris Aceto. He would give me my carb macros. That was it, and the rest, you know, he would tell me exactly this is what you can eat, and you know, so and even then, I probably could have been better because I got a little. I'd be like, oh well.
But Delane, how are you feeling now as far as because we started talking a little bit about this in the beginning about the psychological aspect of the sport. Do you feel way more free now that you don't have that, you know, constant pressure, you know, to always go beyond what you were doing? Because now if you want to drink a beer, you drink a beer and that's it. You know, I believe you do, right?
If I do, and I just tell my coach, I'm like, you know what I don't miss? And I forget who, I was talking to another pro competitor the other day. I don't miss every night without fail. I would wake up around 2 and I would go over my day and analyze if I had checked off every box and if I had given 100, and I would always find things wrong and I would always beat myself up and I'd be like, you know, how the heck do you think that you're going to win a show when you can't even, you know, that was me for years, Yuri. I don't have that anymore.
Yeah, that's tough on your psychological aspect because it drains you with time. It burn you out.
and I think a lot of that, how I mentioned, after I won the pro show, I didn't have like my fire. I'm a very intense, passionate, like fiery woman. I was just numb. And I really feel like I had driven myself so hard into the ground. And it wasn't like negative self-talk, like, oh, you suck. Because I have competitor friends that are like that. I'm like, no, it was just like, Lainey, you could have done so much more. You could have gotten one more rep. Man, that little extra bite of this or whatever. How do you expect? It was just those little nitpicking. I don't do that anymore. But I want to say it took me all last year to really quit doing that.
So the
So
transition between the competitor mindset to the one that you have today, it was not easy.
no, it wasn't. I'm still that way. Now I wake up thinking about clients. I wake up thinking about training plans, my business, my kids. Like, I think it's more normal stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Rather than being all about me, and you know,
Yeah, no, this is very important, and then it's very important that you are educating people on that as well, because that's a very tricky sport. You can really drive yourself to a very dark place, psychologically speaking, and
yeah,
having you with all this experience is a big plus to your clients.
I try and share it. And it's cool because I seem to attract people that like I don't know, like attracts like. And yeah, if I can help somebody not make, maybe, again, we've seen marriages fall apart competing. Just people make really poor decisions because of competing.
Hmm.
You know, Work. My brother competed, for a number of years, and it affected his work. And he's very successful
So he was the first one to wake up.
Yes, he was. He was. Because he is even more intense than I am, and he has a very. I mean, he's high up, and it was his big boss who came to him and was like, I mean, this isn't gonna. You can't keep this up, and he had to make that choice. So yeah, and he always said to me, he was like, Lainey, in the end, it's not gonna be worth it. And I was like, how dare you say that? And I don't feel that way now. And I'm so thankful for what I accomplished. But in the scheme of things, like, I'm not going to be remembered, for that. I'm going to be remembered how I touched someone's life,
Yes.
one-on-one conversation if maybe they were struggling, or, lended an ear to listen to someone who just needed to talk things out. I'm not going to be remembered as someone who qualified for the Olympia or won a pro show. Nobody cares,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know? And I want to leave a legacy of I helped others
Yeah.
and I touched lives. And you're not doing that.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely right. And with all this experience, if you were going to give an advice to the lane that started 5 years ago to compete, for
Mm-mm.
example.
I
uh,
don't know if she would. My best friend is a psychologist, and we've been best friends since I was 12 and he was 14. And he said, when all this happened, he said, Lainey, if there's anything that's been a constant in your life, you go after something, and the only way you get stopped is if with a brick to the head. so, and I've met other competitors like that. And so I speak my piece, and I'm like, hey, I'm here if you ever need to talk. Some of us have to learn that way. I know you understand
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, but it's interesting that you were very transparent. Say she will not listen, right?
Yeah, I don't. I would have. I really don't. Mm-mm.
Okay, so that puts things in different perspective. If you had to start everything from the beginning, knowing what you know today, what you would do differently.
I don't know, because I still go hard for what I want. So I would have taken time to make a little bit more memories, I wouldn't have been so harsh on myself, but I don't know if I would have gotten the same outcome, you know? Um, it would be anything. It would be with my kids. It would be with my kids because they were teens as I was competing, and there were just times I'd be like, I have to go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I made it a point to, be as involved as possible, but single mom, like, if there's any regrets, it would be making more time. And I don't know how I would have done it, but I'm sure I could have figured it out
Yeah. No.
because I was
Yeah.
in that tunnel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure that you are still very proud of what you accomplished because it was a lot.
Totally. Super proud. I mean, honestly, just with my personality, I needed to go through all that to be who I am today. So like, I'm not bitter about any of it. And I'm just like, man, if I can get through that, like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scared of what's around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Because one of the things that we see a lot, mainly on social media, is when we have cases like yours and in other people, other competitors that step out of the main stage to take care of their life, and you start evangelizing and talking freely about what you think, many social media warriors start to criticize and say, well, you say this because you were not successful, right? It's like, no, I would say this anyway, right? But they don't understand. You probably receive a lot of critique on that as well.
I have. And I've had, people unfollow me. It's gotten back to me, things have been said. And I'm just like, okay, we all have to go through it and talk to me when you're on the other side. What's that? President, he said, if you're not in the arena, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Unless you've been in my place, like, and unless I respect you, I don't care.
So you never really got like too frustrated by online comments. You really don't care. You ignore completely.
you know, I think you get kind of just whatsoever. I don't get too worked up about it because my brother said something once, and I apply this big time before I get offended. I was hurt over something someone had said, and I was telling him about it, and he stopped me. He said, "Do you respect this person?" And I said, "Absolutely not." He said, "Then why the hell do you care what they're saying about you?"
Good point. Yeah.
So unless it's somebody that I respect, and then if I hear something, then I'm going to go to that person. But unless I respect them, why would I care?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if somebody wants to believe what they have to say, then that's on them. But I filter it through that. Okay, if I do I respect this person? Oh, I don't. Oh, moving on. But I do spend time deleting comments. All the weird muscle fetish stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite is when they're like, "You're an Amazon goddess," blah blah blah, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm 5'2".
And you said that your first show you were 40 and you won against a 22.
Yeah. So my first show, Dallas, Europa. What was it? I don't. 2015, 14. I turned 40 the day I stepped on stage.
Wow, it was really a short but extremely intense career because we're talking about 6 intense years of competing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's outstanding.
I,
It feels like it's way more.
it's well, for 2 years before that, got obsessed with lifting because I fell in love, with bodybuilding when I was 13, and I couldn't do gymnastics anymore. I had busted my ankle. I broke it twice, and they were like, "You're just done." And my mom had a Joyce Vidral workout book, and Joyce Vidral worked with Rachel McClish, and there were these women, and they had muscle, and I was like, oh, and being a gymnast, I always envied the girls that had the muscle, and I was, this little muscular little girl, And I saw this and I was like, I want to look like them. And I, of course, was a big DC Comics chick too, and all this. So yeah, I then I found a book by Corey Everson, and I had her and Rich Gaspari all over my walls.
Yeah,
Like
but Corey is such a classic physique. It's just
beautiful,
another level. I think it was one of the best physiques ever.
beautiful, and not heavily muscled. It was just the flow, the
Hmm.
line. And I wrote in my journal when I was 13 that one day I was going to compete in bodybuilding and I wanted to be Miss Olympia. And so it was cool when I came full circle back to that,
But
fell
it
back.
took a while for you to
Oh,
get into it.
totally. But I always worked out. I've always been super active. And I started, I was married at the time. Uh, Things were coming to an end, and we're great friends now. But it was my outlet, you
Hmm.
know. And yeah, I stepped on stage. My first show, we started our divorce proceedings like a week later.
Yeah, because I
So
remember, I think we met around 2014 at 24 hours, when you were just training and you were already getting, your shoulders was always something that stood up. You were already getting in a good shape and everything. And I remember you competing in 2015 and winning. So it was a good journey. It just feels like it was longer than that because you
it's
competed so
like
much.
at least 10
Yeah,
years,
you
but it was.
competed so much. I mean, there was a year that you did like 3 shows, maybe.
So I did my pro debut, which was terrible. My coach like dropped me 6 days before it. It was horrible. Then he took asked me to come back. It was awful. So I literally had to prep. Peak week was on me, and I was just a mess. That was San Antonio, and then I hired Jose Raymond, and we did Orlando the following April. So that was August the following April, and we got fifth. And then the head judge told me to soften things up a bit and I would do well. And then I did Dallas Europa the last year they had WPD, IFBB, and I got like eight because we softened things up. And Jose even said, I mean, and you can bleep this out. He said, F the judges and what they have to say. He's like, every time I've ever listened to them, I did my worst. And I was like, but I feel like, I need to listen to the judge. Don't ever listen to the judge. But yeah, and so then I got eighth or ninth, and then I had a good off season. Started prepping with Jose again. He had a lot. He was retiring. He had a lot going on, and communication wasn't very good then. And I just didn't feel good about how the prep was going, and I bailed at 6 weeks out. I just I I just had this feeling like it just wasn't good, and I kind of soul searched for a couple months, continued training, and then I met Nelson Jones through a podcast. And we had like a 2 hour consult, and I was like, this is the dude. And he's like a brother to me now. But yeah. And then we had an amazing off season. I made like the biggest progress I've ever made because he really pushed me. He really like takes you by the hand and. And then I started prep, and we we killed it.
Yeah. Is your weight now close to what it was when you were
Yeah,
like competing?
yeah. So when I would step on stage, I think the last time I stepped on stage, I was like 126, 127, and this morning I weighed 136.
So it's
So
almost like your off-season weight.
yeah, I'm just softer. Typically off season, I would be, and I was just a couple weeks ago. I lost this weight, so we're putting it back on. I like to be around 140, 143.
Was this the same weight that you were when you were bulking up in the off-season?
But if you look at my old pictures, like, I mean, massive shoulders, my back was super thick. So now, but my lower body, I've really improved my glutes and my legs. Like, and I'm carrying a little bit more body fat. I like it though.
Yeah.
Like, feel good. I feel like more feminine,
Hmm.
and that's to say, but that's how I feel. You know,
Oh, as long as you're
um,
feeling better, that's what really matters.
I feel great. Like, I feel great. I just have more of a sense of peace, and just I don't know. I was always on edge before because had to get that goal, had to everything had to be just right, and now it's like I can flow with it. Like today I was supposed to work out. Um, I'm gonna go tomorrow and train.
Hmm.
Had a busy day with clients, had a bunch of updates to do, knew I had the podcast, and I was like, I'm not going to pressure myself. I'll go tomorrow. I would never have done that, Yuri. Like,
I believe you were intense for sure, for sure.
yeah,
But that's good. You found the right balance for your life. Now you can have truly a lifestyle, right? Because sometimes competitive life is not really a lifestyle. It's different.
no, it's not. And I just want to show, because a lot of women that you've seen them over the years that competed at a high pro level, they just like disappear. And then you see them and you're like, do you even work out anymore? Like, they got burnt out. And I understand that. I don't say that with any criticism at all. I want to show that you can pick up right where you are and keep it up. You can make the changes if you want to, like me, I wanted a smaller upper body. I wanted more feminine lower body. Um, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Like, you learned this self-discipline, you learned this lifestyle. It doesn't have to be everything.
That everything doesn't need to be so intense.
It,
Yeah, you can balance more.
yeah.
It's like when I look, for example, the pictures of Linda Murray
Yes.
today. She is still in great shape, but it was a different age of bodybuilding.
Hmm.
I think she won many Olympiads back in the day. She's 59 today, and she's still working out, but she's in great shape.
And still, like, she still has muscle. She's still, you know what I mean? Like, she still leads by example. You know, it's timeless. And I just don't. I mean, I'm 45. I don't think I need to, train. Yeah, I'm smarter now. If something's hurting or whatever, I slow the reps down. I do time under tension. I know I have all the tricks of the trade, but it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm just gonna fall apart. So, and I think people use their age a lot as an excuse to not push themselves or whatever. But God, it makes me feel alive. I
That's an interesting point because in this industry we always say, "Oh, age is just a number," and I'm 46, and I say, "Look, that's a very nice thing to say, and I partially agree with that. But with age comes if you get a injury or something, it takes way
yes,
more time to heal. Your
yes.
recovery time is longer, so it's not really just a number. Let's be honest. I mean, it takes a toll, mainly on recovery, in my opinion.
No, and it's I've become more if something's bothering me, I've had this whole labrum thing, SI joint, which I've had for years. Well, I'm on it now. Like, I immediately contact my PT guy, and I'm much more vigilant about that. And when I stay on top of that type of stuff, it's all good, you know. And again, though, I pay attention. If I can tell that I'm just the strength isn't there that week, I deload. Like, I just pay a lot more attention to myself with that type of stuff, which is funny. You would have thought that I would do that when I was, but it was like, no, no, I've got a progressive overload, progressive overload. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now it's,
Now you
again,
listen more to your body, actually.
I do. Yeah. And if I'm hungry, I text my coach and I'm like, sorry, but just ate this. I don't feel bad about it. You know what I mean?
Now, this is an interesting point because you learn a lot throughout those years and you're not competing anymore. There is any particular reason that you still hiring a coach with you never really
You know,
try to do on your own?
yeah, I did try and do it on my own, and I thrive under accountability, and I like to always be learning. And so, with Nelson, he'll take the time. I'll like recently, I had a major question about some blood work from one of my guys, and we will set up and we will FaceTime, and he will go over everything with me, and he will mentor me. And if I have any questions about anything, we'll talk it out. And that, to me, you should always be learning. If you are coaching clients, one way is not the only way. You need to know multiple different ways, have multiple different approaches. And he keeps me, I'm learning. And he is learning from, he's worked with Chad Nichols, Chris Aceto, Phil Viz. I mean, the list goes on. Cement Factory. So so I get that information.
So it's more about the whole coaching experience, not only nutrition and training. It's way more than that.
No.
Because I'm pretty sure that you could write your own nutrition plan.
Oh, I could do it. But it's fun because there's always like something little that I'll learn each week. But it's because I ask questions, and he loves to teach. So, yeah, because I do mainly still DC training, which I love, and I could do my nutrition. But there's something about being accountable to someone, because nowadays, now that I'm like more chill, I could get too chill. Be like,
So what happened when you tried to do it on your own? You were too chill?
I didn't look good. Yeah, I was too chill, and I need that accountability where every Friday I'm taking the video, I'm sending him, and he will see things that I won't see, because I don't see myself still to this day. I do not see myself correctly. And he'll send the side by sides, and he'll be like, oh, but look at this. Or he'll be like, whoa, what was your water intake the last 2 days? Because I'll be watery, And yeah.
But I noticed that you said that you send updates to him, but you still have that bodybuilding checkup, right? You do your mandatory poses and everything.
Yep.
That's really interesting, because you left the sport, but the sport is still on you.
That's just normal for me, And it's funny because like I considered like doing some wellness poses and stuff, and I'm like, I'm WPD, man. Like, I felt funny doing this whole
I fully understand. It would be hard to visualize you doing that.
hitting men's physique poses,
Yeah.
and being like, this ain't me anymore, So
No, that's amazing. No, that's a great story, Delane. And again, I really, really appreciate the fact that you took the time on your busy Saturday, to record this and be so open about everything. Keep evangelizing, telling the truth, and educating people. I think that's, as you said, that's going to be your major legacy.
Thank you. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. And hope to one day we can train again and continue to make progress on your own pace, on your own thing. You are happier now. You look healthier, and that's all goodness.
That's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much for everything. Take care. Hope to see you soon.
Sounds good.